question. "How much is it?" "We got a grant to do this," she said. "It's free." My tax dollars at work. Somehow that made me feel better. "Can I tell Tamsin you'll be coming?" the woman asked. Definitely a local. I could tell by the number of syllables in tell. "Let me think about it," I told her, suddenly frightened of taking a step that would undoubtedly add to my pain. Carol Althouse lived in the middle of chaos. I had dropped all but 3 of my customers, and I wished Carol had been one of them, but I'd had one of my rare moments of pity and kept her on. I was only cleaning Carol, the Winthrops, and the Drinkwaters, and Monday was the day I did all 3. I went back to the Winthrops on Thursday, and I remained open for the odd errand or special cleaning job other days. But I was also working for Jack, so my schedule was complicated. Carol's chaos was of her own making the way I saw it, but it was still chaos, and I like order. Carol's life had gone out of control when she'd married Jay Althouse, a divorced salesman with 2 sons. To Jay's credit, he had custody of his sons. To Jay's debit, he was on the road all the time, and though he may have loved Carol, who was anemically attractive, religious, and stupid, he also needed a live-in babysitter. So he married Carol, and despite all their previous experiences with the 2 boys, they had their own babies, 2 girls. I'd begun working for Carol when she was pregnant with the 2nd girl, throwing up intermittently every day and sitting limply in a recliner the rest of the time. I'd kept all of the children for a day and a half, only once, when Jay had had a car wreck out of town. Probably these children were not demonic. Possibly they were quite typical, but collectively they were hell. And hard on a house, too. Carol needed me to come at least twice a week for maybe 6 hours at a stretch. She could afford 4 hours a week, just barely. I gave Carol Althouse the best value for her money she would find anywhere. During the school year, it was nearly possible for Carol to cope. Heather and Dawn were still at home, only 5 and 3 years old, but the boys, Cody and Tyler, were in school. Summers were another kettle of fish. It was late June, so the kids had all been home for about 3 weeks. Carol had enrolled them in 4 Bible schools. The First Baptists and the Central Methodists had already completed their summer programs, and the house was even more littered with paper fish and bread glued to paper plates, sheep made from cotton balls and popsicle sticks, and lopsided drawings of fishermen pulling in nets filled with people. Shakespeare Combined Church, a fundamentalist coalition, and the joint Episcopalian Catholic Bible schools were yet to come. I entered with my own key, to find Carol standing in the middle of the kitchen trying to get the snarls out of Dawn's long curls. The little girl was wailing. She had on a nightgown with Winnie the Pooh on the front. She was wearing toy plastic high heels, and she'd gotten into her mother's makeup. I surveyed the kitchen and began to gather dishes. When I re-entered the kitchen a minute later, laden with dirty glasses and 2 plates that had been on the floor in the den, Carol was still standing in the middle of the floor, a quizzical expression on her face. "Good morning, Lily," she said in a pointed way. "Hello, Carol. Is something wrong?" "No." Why tell Carol? Would she be reassured about my well-being if I told her I'd tried to kill Jack the night before? "You could say hello when you come in," Carol said, that little smile still playing across her face. Dawn looked up at me with as much fascination as if I'd been a cobra. Her hair was still a mess. I could solve that with a pair of scissors and a brush in about 5 minutes, and I found the idea very tempting. "I'm sorry, I was thinking of other things," I told Carol politely.